It seems like sex is everywhere you look these days. Movies, TV, billboards, the internet. For years, I've been told this is awful, especially for kids. But how big a problem is it? And a different question, is it a problem?
Look at this. Scorching sex stories.
This TV show ran when I was 15. The detectives worry about the evil that comes from kids seeing sex.
These kids soak up poison that would turn the mind of a grown man.
They threaten this store manager for selling smut.
You're contributing to a racket that's vicious enough to pervert an entire generation of American kids.
That young people seeing sex would pervert an entire generation was the theory I heard growing up. Sex must be kept out of sight. If not, he'll be a deviant later.
Pillow talk, pillow talk.
When I was 11, even this innocent movie was considered shocking because it talked about the bedroom.
Don't take your bedroom problems out on me.
I have no bedroom problems. There's nothing in my bedroom that bothers me.
The movie sizzles with sex, said reviews. It comes close to the forbidden border. Yet today, PG movies like Hairspray cheerfully feature a flasher and joke about teen pregnancy.
So how long you to be gone, Brenda?
Just 9 months.
And sex is a regular storyline on today's TV shows.
Dad,
Yeah?
do you suffer from erectile dysfunction?
This is a clip from CBS's popular sitcom 2.5 Men.
Something to do with your penis, right? And they say 1 out of 3 guys gets it, and mine's fine, so it's gotta be one of you.
Parents cringe watching TV with their kids when this type of trash comes on, says Peter Sprigg.
They are being exposed to sex and to talk about sex before they're even old enough to even think about having sex.
Sprigg and his group, the Family Research Council, are disturbed by all the sex that's in the public square.
Shows with titles that make it sound like they're all about the family, in fact, are very hostile to family values.
He cited this Fox cartoon.
Now, son, as men, it's only natural for us to look at naked girls. Every man does it, even Mr. Rogers.
Hello, neighbor.
With so many programs pushing the sexual envelope, Sprigg says he can barely find anything appropriate to watch with his young son.
In my household, we have to rush to the remote to shut it off before Desperate Housewives begins.
Oh yes, ABC's show draws many complaints.
Because your son would see things like what?
Well, one episode where unfortunately I did leave the TV on and catch part of it was the one where Eva Longoria's character, who has an ongoing sexual relationship with the lawn boy, actually had sex with him on the dining room table of their home.
You want to do it on the table this time?
Absolutely.
If kids see that, what does that do?
Young people who watch a lot of sexual content on television have distorted attitudes about sexuality. That it must be that everybody who's not married is going around and having sex all the time and having kinky sex in all kinds of strange situations.
Oh, please, says Dr. Marty Klein.
The truth is, children think about sex, whether we want them to or not. Children don't need our help to think about sex.
Klein says trying to stop that is part of America's war on sex.
There are groups of people out there who are devoted to scaring the heck out of Americans about sexuality. There's no data that looking at shows like Desperate Housewives actually makes people go out and have affairs or makes people get more divorce. I think makes some people feel good because they say, aha, there's the enemy, and if only we could do something about that, everything would be better.
Sex, violence, and vulgarity
Smut over the internet
had coarsened our culture.
For years, that is something we've heard.
My constituents are very tired of having to cover over their children's eyes and ears.
We'll all be safer if we reduce sex in the public square.
Today we are saying enough is enough.
They were proposing tougher penalties for showing sexual images on television or on the internet. I don't know how they would control the internet, but even if they could, would it matter? Today, sex is everywhere. It's in store windows that kids see, and it's all over the kids' computers. Even little kids get sexual spam. And all this causes tremendous harm, says the Family Research Council.
The rise of sexually transmitted diseases, the increase in out-of-wedlock pregnancies and births. We see the harm in the increase in single-parent households. all of these things have significant harm for the country.
And that's what I've heard for years, but has it happened? When we checked recent statistics, we found a different story. Although images of sex are now rampant, the rape rate has fallen. So is the divorce rate and the percentage of teens having premarital sex.
This is high school students who have sex, dropping as the culture got coarser. Birth rate among teen girls dropping sharply. The rape rate dropping steadily.
Okay.
I mean, this is all good news. Your predictions haven't happened.
Well, you know, people need to do some real studies to look at the correlation between these events.
But what's happened sexually in the culture is the worst nightmare of people who were worried about this. And it hasn't been reflected in increased crime, increased rape.
I'm not sure I accept the premise that negative effects aren't happening.
Sometimes Sprague's group reaches pretty far to make its points, like when they issued this press release lamenting bad news from the Centers for Disease Control.
The results could not be clearer, an increase in out-of-wedlock teenage pregnancies.
Right, well, I mean,
that was 1 year. It's been going down.
It has been going down, but until they go down to zero, we have to keep trying to promote these positive values in our culture.
In other cultures, in Europe for example, kids are exposed to much more sex. There's explicit commercials and nude beaches. All this nudity, says Klein, hasn't caused European countries to experience more sex-related crimes. Be realistic, he says. Sex is not poisoning our culture. We will survive.
The issue really is the stuff out there that you or I don't like, is it dangerous? And the good news is that for the most part, the unsavory sexual things that people are exposed to isn't dangerous. It may be unpleasant, but it's not dangerous.